So, Woman in the Yard. This movie, I saw 2 reviews on Facebook. Somebody said it was 0 out of 10. And then the next person said it was 10 out of 10. You have my curiosity. Woman in the Yard stars Danielle Deadwyler, Okwai Opakswali, and is directed by Yome Colette Sarah.
She needs a light to make a shadow. Come on.
You've been praying for me.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review. We're going to review Woman in the Yard. Like I said in the beginning of the review, this movie is very, very mixed. And I tend to love going to movies that are somewhere in the middle, like 50%. This movie is literally 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. I just found that out as I was leaving the theater because I texted my daughter, little spoiler warning for you, not about the movie, but how I feel about the movie. My daughter likes horror movies, so we talk horror movies all the time. And as I was leaving the theater, I said, "You need to see Woman in the Yard." And she replied, "Dad, this movie has a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes." And I said, "That's why you need to see Woman in the Yard." So before I jump into the quick plot synopsis, at least half of you are probably not going to agree with me on this review. So if I tell you run, go see this movie immediately, there's a chance you're going to go see this movie and you're going to be mad at me after you watch it. Know that going into this, okay? I'm here to give you my opinion, and that's all it is. It's just my opinion on the movie, all right? But let's give you a quick plot synopsis. Let's dive into this review. Danielle Deadwyler, she plays Ramona. She was just in a very tragic accident with her husband. Her husband died. This is established at the very beginning of the movie. You're going to pick up that this movie is about trauma and about grief. And the accident left her with a really messed up leg as well, so she's on crutches through the entire movie. The opening of this movie, you are seeing her lamenting the death of her husband. It has really just ripped her apart. And then she's got these 2 children, Taylor and Annie, and they're pretty much left to fend for themselves just because of what she is going through. She can't function. This is what happens when you are depressed, when you are mourning someone. Your life pretty much takes a pause, and that's what she's doing in this movie. So quickly, the movie sets that up, her mental state, and just kind of sets the table. And then quickly, she looks out the window and she sees this woman in the yard. This woman, she's got this like veil over her body, this black veil over her body, and she's just sitting there in the yard and she's staring at her. And the kids can see it, she can see it, and so she goes out and confronts this lady, this woman that's sitting in the yard. And it's just one of those situations where the antagonist, the woman in the yard, and it's one of those situations where this woman, she doesn't really have to say much. She just looks menacing. There is a supernatural element to her that the characters in this movie quickly realize. And so it becomes a situation where, are we in danger? And we don't have any kind of internet because there's no power in the house. And I love when movies do this too, especially in the modern day. We take away all that technology. There is no power to charge your phones. Your phones are dead. And then you got this mother who has just checked out on life. As far as the plot goes, that's all I'm going to give you. And really, that's all this movie is. It's more of an emotional type of movie. And you are just experiencing a person who has checked out, who is in grief. And they have to act because they have to save their children. I loved that it was very few characters in this movie. This felt like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, honestly. Sort of like Signs. Yome Colette Sarah directed this, who also directed Orphan, which I think is one of the most underrated freaking movies of the last 20 years. And his direction in this movie, as far as a horror director, I think is impeccable. I saw this in a packed theater, which I loved on a Friday night, and everybody was extremely vocal during this movie and having a blast, and they were jumping. We always criticize horror movies about cheap jump scares. These are very effective jump scares, and you can't predict when they are going to come, but you know they're going to come because of the situation at hand with this movie. I don't get scared by much at all, and I wasn't scared, but I definitely jumped quite a few times during this movie because of how Yomei Sarah sets up his scares and plays with the shadows and the lighting in a movie. And the score is extremely effective, and especially the sound design. People don't talk about sound design enough in horror movies, and I think sound design can make or break scares in a horror movie. And this is some of the best sound design I've heard, especially in a theater. So if you want to watch this movie, I would say definitely check it out in the theater, because I think that's going to be the most effective way to watch this. I mean, sure, we all have great sound systems at home, so I'm sure it'll be effective when it comes out. But also just, support horror. Go to the theater. Watch this movie. I think this movie is great. And I am actually floored and kind of shocked that this is sitting at a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes, when this is probably one of the best movies I've seen this year. Now, I'll give you a little bit more about her children. Tyler is the teenage brother, and he's sort of the guy, he's the man of the house, and he's having to pick up the pieces behind his mother. And then he's got this little sister that he looks out for, he takes care of. And he wants to protect his family, and he can't do that to the fullest of his abilities because his mother is trying to protect him and trying to keep these kids in this house. Do not let them go outside. And you're dealing with a supernatural entity that is very, very unpredictable. And it's one of those situations where if that entity gets in the house, you buy it because you don't know what it is. Now, I've told you very little about the woman, but I will say this is the makings of like a new horror icon. And I think the way this movie plays out all the way to the end, and I understood the ending quite well. I have seen some online stating that they were a little confused by the ending. This movie is about, without telling you, the ending, the themes of this movie, this is about loss. This is about grief. This is about trauma and how you deal with that. The woman, I'm not going to tell you exactly what she signifies, but I think you can kind of at least come to the conclusion that the trauma that Ramona is going through in this movie is directly tied into the woman in the yard, okay? And there's a lot more that I could spoil and tell you that I won't. I want you guys to go into this and enjoy it for yourself. But I had no problem understanding what this movie was trying to tell the audience and how it all unfolded. I think it was beautifully written, beautifully directed, and I could not praise this movie enough after I left. It's very refreshing for a horror movie to surprise you and actually be effective when there is so much competition out there. Now, as far as any cons, I'm not going to let this movie fully off the hook, given that the father has died pretty recently. I think they could have maybe showed the effect that it had on the children, but I think this movie was just trying to get to the point rather quickly and keep the main focus on Ramona. Because everything that she's doing in this movie, and she is the mother, is the most important thing about this. If I had to pick it apart, I'd say maybe a little bit more character building on the children as far as their relationship with their father and their reaction to him being gone. But overall, guys, high purchase worthy. This movie was actually phenomenal. It was emotional, it was gut-wrenching, and it was also quite effective in the way of scares. These are some of the best jump scares I've seen in quite a while, okay? The audience was freaking out. They were jumping, they were laughing. This was a roller coaster ride. That's exactly what it was. The audience doesn't lie. I can't make this shit up. Any reaction we have to a horror movie, it's instinctual. It's not something that you decide, okay, that's effective, I'm going to react to it. No, it happens. You can't control it. That's what this movie did, okay? So I want you guys to check this movie out. Some of you are probably not gonna like it, but I definitely want to get in the comments with you guys and talk about The Woman in the Yard, okay? This was one of the biggest, probably the biggest surprise of the year. I expected nothing out of this movie, and I got everything I was looking for. So, it's quick too, it's 90 minutes, all right? Let me know what you guys think. Be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my socials, support me on Patreon, become a channel member, buy me a coffee. You know, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.